Yeah, you can stun the TP though. If you stun the TP, they cannot TP. Do you know that? Yeah, yeah, if you stun the TP, they can't use it. I don't know how, but it's working. I mean, we can test it though.
On left side, cross for TP.
TP, yep,
TP, TP.
TP. Okay, okay. It didn't work. Okay, starting with the defensive part of Blizzard World. What is very important here with Soldier 76 is knowing what you're supposed to do. So for example, let's say that you're playing double shield or you're playing Rein Zarya, mean as a team composition. Usually your tanks will try to stay and hug this corner and try to poke as much as possible. So the reason why this corner is preferred is because you have a bigger sight line from here. From here you can shoot the choke, you can shoot left side, you can shoot right side. However, if you're staying on this side, you can shoot only over there. You can't see anything else. So that's why usually tanks are protecting this choke here. And this is why usually whenever the tanks are pushing, they're trying to overcome this choke and try to fight for this position. So for example, you as a soldier 76, you can stay on high ground for early poke, like here, poke a bit, throw a right click, check their DPS. If they're playing Pharah, Echo, Widowmaker, just poke a bit and go away. Because if you're staying here and they're playing Pharah, you might get Concussive Blast and you might get booped down over here, get hooked, get pulled, etc, etc, etc. Check what their tanks are. So for example, if they're playing bow and you see the bow rolling out, getting for diving you, just go away. That's the first thing that you need to do when you acknowledge their setup. If they're playing Rein Zarya and there is nobody that can actually contest you on this high ground, so for example a long range sniper, Widowmaker, Hanzo or Ashe, you could stay here and poke as long as possible, then rotate down and regroup with your team. So whenever you're regrouping with your team, if you have time, you can take this high ground and stay here as much as possible. This high ground is very crucial for soldier, as you have vision over there, you can DPS all of this path. Keep in mind that usually long range DPS hits cans tend to get this high ground, so they can poke from there and provide additional pressure, or for example Kree, soldier, etc. can flank from this side and try to kill somebody in your backline. So if you lost or you lose this point, you could retreat or just die and regroup with your team. So whenever you regroup with your team, your best position with soldier is hugging this wall here. So first, whenever the payload is over there, you can poke from here and protect yourself. And if the team are more acknowledged and they try to take the high ground from you, you can retreat over here and try to DPS from here as much as possible, using your right click, checking left side for flanks and continuously DPSing. So if you lose this spot over here and they already have control and you win by accident, so for example payload is somewhere here, you can play on this high ground. This high ground is very good for soldier as you have one natural cover. You can go back and regroup with your team. You can DPS from here, all of the sight lines. You can drop here, you can drop here, here, you know, plenty of options. Keep in mind that all of the DPS that are well acknowledged of their gameplay style, they'll try to take this high ground for you, try to contest you. So you have the highest ground at the moment. So anybody that is trying to contest you from here, you can right click him and DPS, you know, because right click can provide you sufficient damage, provide you with a knockback effect, which you can use to burst him out with your rifle gun. Keep in mind that this point This high ground is very crucial for you as a soldier 76. You standing here on this high ground would mean that you actually will win this game. So, if you lose this point, then keeping anywhere here makes no sense for you, and you would love to stay on this high ground here. Let me rotate a bit. So you can stay on this high ground, DPS, hug this corner, hug this wall here. You see? Don't forget that this might block you. DPS from here whenever the payload is over there. Don't stop DPS. And if you need to retreat with your team, drop from here and retreat over there. Like, don't go like on this side. You can go on this side, but not between fights. And I would say that personally I don't love standing here, because this is a pretty spammable spot and you can be easily killed here. So for example, if there is a Hanzo over here, he can just pre-spam you like with his left click and kill you. So this is why I don't like this spot. However, for Hanzo would be really hard for him to shoot you over there, because pre-aiming on all of this sideline here is pretty hard for Hanzo. So I would say that keep this side here, try to DPS as much as possible, and whenever you need to retreat with your team, just go over here, retreat, hug these walls, continuously DPSing, another wall, DPS, another wall, DPS, another wall, DPS. You have so many options to protect yourself. If you want to flank and you know that you are able to flank, you can go on left side and shoot from here whenever they are pushing, you know. But keep in mind that these fences here are breakable, they're stopping your bullets, and they need to be breaked up before you can actually start shooting, because they're actually interfering with your damage deal. What else? Like, the third point is pretty straightforward. You have to continuously DPSing whenever the payload is getting pushed, and you need to hug all the walls and natural covers that are provided by the map to mitigate any damage that can actually one-shot you. Let's say that the payload is over there and they are actually able to almost cap. The best possible spot for you as a DPS is this wall, so you can DPS from here, you can hide, healing station, DPS, etc, etc. You need to be the last resource of touch, so you need to be the last one that will actually touch the point, not anyone else. Okay, so that's for the defensive part of Blizzard World. Let's start with the offensive one. So for the offensive part of Blizzard World, whenever the doors are opening, wait a bit, because Widowmaker usually grappling here and she might kill you. Keep that in mind. Watch out for any spam damage over here. Fire rockets, ash dynamites, echo, stickies, watch out. Usually you would love to come from this side mainly because sometimes bow tend to use a grapple from over here and boop you all away over there. I'm not quite sure if this still is working, because the bow had a mechanic which was called double boop, and they were kind of abusing that shit. However, if you're trying to attack, just go from this side. Also, another good option is going from this side here below. You can also check for flanks. Don't be too greedy, not checking anything. Don't be too blind, I would say, not greedy. And whenever you're here, just check high ground, start DPSing, and continuously DPSing while your team is pushing. So if your team are able to push over here, I would say that you can relocate yourself here, continuously DPSing, check for this side, and if you need, you can take this high ground, which is very good for you. You can DPS from here, hug this corner, hug this natural cover, healing station, DPS over there. And if your tanks are able to survive and the pressure from you to the enemy tanks is better, or from you to the enemy backline is better, eventually you cap the point. So if you're not still able to cap the point, I would suggest a very sneaky flank. So if nobody is watching over here, you could actually sneak from here, and whenever you're here, you have to crouch for a bit, check if anybody is watching, and if nobody is watching, you can go slowly here, go to this high ground, right click and kill someone. But don't do this. Like, this with soldier is very risky. I would say that this would be better executed with a McCree. So I think that you should be able to stay with your team and try to DPS, or take this high ground and DPS from here. If you want to DPS someone in the back, just DPS from here, if your tanks are standing on the other side. If you cap the first point, the second point is pretty straightforward. High ground control. There is no doubt about that. Your team have to take high ground from the enemy team. You have to take high ground from the enemy team. This is rule number 1. So if you establish high ground control, you can DPS from here. Watch out, because you might getting killed. There is no natural cover for you. As you can see, you are out in the open. You can be shot from here, 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 like everywhere. So be very vigilant. Check if anybody is watching over you and DPS. If nobody is watching for you, you can kill someone and regroup with your team. If your team are actually getting and providing you with a high ground control, you can DPS from here and apply pressure as much as possible. So if the payload is over there, you can hug this wall here, protect yourself, and don't forget to check this high ground for flanks. And hopefully this will secure you the second point. If you need to visor, in any case, if you need to visor, the best possible positions for visor is this one first and this one second. So this one second, because from here you could actually DPS over there, you could DPS over there, and you have natural cover, and you are hard countered here, because nobody can push you from here. You can get it, you can be pushed from there, and you can be pushed from the ramp. But here nobody can push you. On you only a mobile heroes like Doomfist, with Doomfist, Winston's, Bows, Divas, Tracers, etc, etc. So if you're able to cap this point with soldier, you would love to take it slow. DPS with your team, try to apply pressure on the enemy tanks as much as possible. You know, DPS if there is someone standing there, DPS, try to predict a right click. DPS as much as possible, check for flanks, don't forget about that. DPS with your team and continuously doing that. If you're not able to push forward, you can try to make a left side flank rotation from here and DPS in the backline. If you see that they're turning around, just go away and regroup with your team, if you need, of course. Don't be too greedy. If you're being too greedy, you might get punished because of that. If you are able to push the payload from here, you can hug this wall and DPS. Like, this wall is your best friend, and this column here is your second best friend. Use them wisely. From here you can DPS a lot, as you can see, and you can apply as much pressure as possible. Keep in mind that from here you could also visor and try to kill anyone who is standing in the backline and push the payload further. If you want to have a little bit of high ground control, I would say that you can take this high ground, but keep in mind that this is pretty spammable spot and you can get one-shotted again. Don't try to make right side flank rotation from over there. You can only make it if you have Ana, Nano, and you have visor. From here, if the enemy team are standing over there and they're protecting the payload from here, you could ask your Ana to come with you, and she could nano boost you from over there. You can visor from here and you can start DPSing them, of course, and probably getting some good kills. But everything that is closer the payload, as close as the payload to the capture point here, would mean that any flanks for you from here would mean that you probably die. So don't attempt. Okay, so that was for Blizzard World. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to give it a like, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below. I am soon finishing the rest of the series so I can upload them. So stay touched, escort maps are on their way. Bye bye.